What's going on? What's going on, everybody? If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned in to episode 6 of the HFWB podcast series. I'm your host, Clifton. I want to thank those who are currently watching on YouTube, and for those also listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and now Amazon Podcasts. Thank you once again for providing HFWB the opportunity to reintroduce health, bring new life with great fitness, spread a little bit of knowledge and wealth, and teach you how to mind your own business. Because, like I said in episode 2 of this podcast, you are your own business, you are your own brand. You gotta build something that is yours, to which you can pass down to your family, to the next generation, or you can pass on to the next person. That way they can pass it on to someone that they know, and we can keep this spreading and keep this going and all this good stuff. Needless to say, it's all about adding your own little spin to it, adding your own little touch to it, and doing it your way, my way, like Frank Sinatra would say. Now, that's one step closer to establishing your own sort of independence, having 10 toes down and not being dependent and relying on anybody for anything, to where you could say you did this on your own, to where you can say you built this for yourself and for the greater good of others as well. Now, if you want to take this a step further and even succeed even more further, remember this word, interdependence. Now I get it. We all strive to be independent every single day, to where we could say, hey, I did this on my own without having anybody's help. I'm very proud of myself. Now, that's very common and that's good in most cases, but if you really want to take things a step further, learn how to put your pride aside every now and then. Learn how to put your ego aside. Learn how to be humble and learn how to open your mind and have that willingness to work with someone, even if you don't like them or not. As long as y'all are working towards a common goal, y'all can achieve great amounts of success with whoever that individual is. A greater amount of success that you probably could have achieved by yourself. As in other words, interdependence is about two, yes, I said it, two independent minds coming together as one, to where they accomplish a common goal and achieve greater amounts of success than they probably ever could have achieved working by themselves. That is key, because it's like they say, teamwork makes the dream work. And sometimes you need to build yourself a strong team around you in order to achieve the dream that you set out for yourself within the course of your mind. That's something that I'm personally working on every single day, and I challenge you, the people, to do the same thing as well, because at the end of the day, as great as we are individually by ourselves with whatever talent that we may possess, sometimes it takes a little bit of help just to give you that extra boost to get you where you need to be within the course of your life. And that's just not in business, that's just not in money, that's just not in health. That's basically the overall core of what life truly is all about. It's about interdependence, mixed in with a little bit of independence, but more interdependence as far as working together with someone and achieving a common goal that's greater than your overall purpose and your overall mission. And at the same time, it's satisfying enough to where it could be basically a minimum cost for yourself at the end of the day, as far as the overall investment and time that you put in towards it. Now, enough about that. I want to tackle a couple of important topics on this episode today. The first one I'm going to start off with, these COVID-19 variants. Oh, they've been bothering me so much. I mean, I get it. We have the Delta variant, which was first identified in India back in December 2020, swept through India, Great Britain, just a few countries to name. First case of the Delta variant was diagnosed, in March of 2021. How do we go from that, now having the Delta strain becoming the most dominant strain in all of the country? And it's crazy when I look at the stories in the news every single day about this. It's like, my first thought that comes to mind, this is just me personally, some may agree with this, how did we get to this? How do we get to the point to where these viruses keep on replicating and mutating and spreading like wildfire to the next person? It's even getting to the point where these vaccines are almost little to no effect, because it's like even people who are getting vaccinated are still catching the virus. I'm thankful that I'm not in that position, at least not that I'm aware of yet. But for those who are, be careful and pace yourself with this. And it's funny because our government kind of didn't pace themselves when it came to opening the doors and loosening the COVID-19 restrictions. Now, when we got probably the most fastest and fitting virus and the most contagious virus with this Delta variant, but hey, don't take my words for it. You could blame the World Health Organization on that one. They're the ones who gave that description. I'm just reading what they basically described about this. Now, how do we go from this? The average person, when the original COVID-19 virus first originated, how do we go from the average person being affected will infect at least 2.5 other people, and this is according to Dr. Perry Wilson from the Yale Medicine. How do we go from that to where in that same exact environment, this Delta variant, right, it can basically spread from one person to maybe 3.5 or 4 more people. Now, this Delta variant, this just goes to show you how contagious and fast this virus is, that it's basically infecting twice as many people at a quicker rate than the original COVID-19 virus was originally in the first place. How is that even possible? I don't know. Science is going to have a lot of explaining to do when it comes to that. Now, what's even more crazy about this is that the unvaccinated people are the ones at the biggest risk. There's a disproportionate number of people unvaccinated all over the country, like Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi, Missouri, West Virginia. They basically have cases rising every single day, yet they still have low vaccination rates. That can easily be resolved by people just simply going down to a Walgreens pharmacy, a CVS pharmacy, I don't know, your local grocery store that has a pharmacy, and just ask about the COVID-19 vaccine. Don't be scared to do a little bit of research, even if it's something that you may not want to read or something you may not like to see. The most important thing is just getting yourself educated, getting the right information, and doing the right research to where you can get vaccinated. Because it's like I said in the last episode of the HFWB podcast, information is the new money. The more information you have, the more wealthy you're going to become in due time. Now, it's crazy when I say that unvaccinated people are at the biggest risks of catching this Delta variant. And what's even more crazier is that the kids are at the biggest risk of that. Because, yeah, we're taking care of the older age groups, like the 65 and older, 50 plus and older, and all that good stuff. But we're leaving out the age group of kids 5 to 12 years old. And by the way, the FDA still hasn't even authorized the vaccine for that age group alone. And from what I heard on the news a couple of weeks back, they're not even planning on doing that until the earliest, the winter. And I get it, they're going through all the clinical phases and running the necessary tests and doing the necessary evaluations of this process to make sure it's safe and secure enough to where we can vaccinate the kids. I get all that. But maybe we should put a little bit of warp speed into this, at least for the future's sake. Because it's like what Big Daddy Kane said, children are the future, right? And our future isn't looking very good when we got the Delta variant of this COVID-19 virus wiping out our young kids before they even have a chance to live their life. And that's just scary and sad all the way around. Now, these groups, of course, are at the biggest risk. Now, Delta variant, it's also leading to so many outbreaks. And the best way I can describe this, well, Dr. Perry Wilson and all these other doctors from Yale Medicine, they basically put it like this. The Delta variant is moving fast enough to where it's literally accelerating the pandemic and keeping it going to where it continues to spread even more. Right when we thought we were about to put an end to this, nope, here comes another variant just wreaking havoc all the way around, right? Now, the question about this Delta variant that everyone wants to know is, how many people are going to get the Delta variant? How many people are going to be contagious by it? And how fast is it going to spread? Well, the answer depends on a lot of things. Where you live, how many people are in your location, and of course, How many people are getting vaccinated in your location? That's another thing Dr. Perry Wilson from Yale Medicine inquired about. Now, he basically calls it patchwork vaccination, where you have pockets of highly vaccinated people that are adjacent to places that have 20% vaccinations. The virus can jump from poorly vaccinated areas to another poorly vaccinated area. In some cases, as low vaccination towns surrounded by high vaccination areas could end up with the virus contained within its borders, leading to these same hyper-local outbreaks. Now, what that basically means, or at least from what I took out of everything that Dr. Perry Wilson of Yale Medicine said, I could be wrong on this, so don't quote me on this. Now, it's like I said, unvaccinated people are the biggest risk. Now they're putting the people who already took the time to get vaccinated, they're putting those people at risk to where it's just gonna continue to spread. Because now the difference is with that is that the unvaccinated people are gonna get the worst end out of it. They're gonna be the ones in the hospital beds fighting for their lives, dealing with the extreme severity of all the symptoms. Meanwhile, say for instance someone that does get vaccinated contract the virus, at least the symptoms won't be too bad, and at least the antibodies in the vaccines will be strong enough to where it could withstand the virus to a certain extent. Now it may not lead to you going to the hospital, but it's still going to affect you in some sort of way to where it just really at the end of the day it depends on your immune system. The way I look at it, it's kind of like I've had these discussions with my dad about this COVID-19 vaccines. It really just depends on your immune system. The stronger your immune system is, the more likely you're not going to have to worry about these variants. Now, if your immune system is weak, you're in super trouble in regards to that. Now, there's still a lot to learn about the Delta variant, just like there's a lot to learn about the Lambda variant. Now, what I can tell you in regards to the Lambda variant, at least from the research that I've done, it was first detected back in the country of Peru. For those who don't know, it's in South America, back in summer of 2020. The Houston hospital found its first case of the Lambda variant. It was maybe a few weeks back when this took place. Now, the Lambda variant is currently listed, at least by the World Health Organization standards, it's listed as a variant of interest. As in other words, it's on their radar, but it's not blowing up tremendously on their radar, at least not for the time being. But that could change in due time. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't surprise me if the Lambda variant becomes the new dominant strain in the next month or two. But hey, that's to be determined if we could pick up the vaccination rates, right? Because the key is to get everybody vaccinated. At least that's what the CDC and the WHO and all these other health institutions are recommending everybody doing. Now this Lambda variant, it has some mutations that might make it resistant to antibodies that are created from the vaccines. Now, the antibodies, whenever you get vaccinated, antibodies are thrown into your body to where it'll build up within your system to where it can fight off the COVID-19 vaccine, just in case if you do get infected with it, where the symptoms won't be as severe, but it'll still be a little bit of cause of concern. Now, this Lambda variant could basically bypass all that and still infect you, and it still can be contagious to you, even if you get vaccinated. As in other words, this Lambda variant could basically just scoop the COVID-19 vaccine out of your system and basically still attack your system regardless if you get contracted with it. So that should be a cause of concern within itself. And hey, you don't believe me? Let me read to you a little something that Dr. Anthony Fauci said to CNBC back on July the 20th of 2021. Now that's 8 days ago, by the way. He basically said that the COVID-19 vaccines are working against the new transmittable variants. However, he said that the variants are showing that they can evade vaccines. As in other words, these variants are becoming more and more contagious to where these COVID-19 vaccines are having little to no effect. And it still boggles my mind sometimes to where it's like, how could they come up with a vaccine for one of the most deadliest viruses of all time in very little time, but yet they still haven't came up with a vaccine to cure HIV, which, for instance, has been around for quite some time, years I might add. But hey, I'm going to get into that another day because it's more about these COVID-19 vaccines at this exact moment. Now, Dr. Fauci, he also went on to say that more people need to get vaccinated to stop more dangerous variants from popping up, and he basically broke down how these variants have started. He basically said, this is Dr. Anthony Fauci to CNBC, he said that viruses don't mutate unless you allow them to replicate and spread in the community. You give them ample time and opportunity to mutate, and you got yourself a new variant. As in other words, for those who are unvaccinated and for those who are having no care in the world, you're pretty much the biggest reason why the Delta variant and the Lambda variant is even in existence, because you're not realizing that you're spreading this everywhere you go, every step of the way, and you're giving it enough time and opportunity as you allow it to spread, to mutate, to replicate, and basically transform into something even more deadlier to begin with. This could easily be avoided if you get vaccinated. I can't stress that enough. And for those who are questioning the vaccine at this point, I don't really know what to tell you at this point anymore. I'm running out of options myself. I mean, I can only tell you so much, and I can only lead a horse to the water for so long. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to drink the water, right? It's up to you to get vaccinated, right? Because if you don't, you're basically playing with your life at this point, because this is not a game. This is getting very, very serious every single day. As a matter of fact, the Delta variant, it basically accounts for more than 80% of the COVID-19 cases in the U.S. at this very moment. As in other words, this is only going to get worse before it gets any better. Now, there's still some hope, and the only hope we have, just get yourself vaccinated, do some research, get the right information necessary about all these vaccines before you take time to actually go and do it, and eventually get it done. If not for yourself, do it for your family and for those who love you and care about you the most, because what would they have to say about that at the end of the day, right? Now, there's a few things that I want to point out as far as the latest numbers. Now, the numbers are a little bit off considering the fact that today is July the 28th, 2021, and these are numbers just from 3 days ago, and I'm sure they've increased tremendously by now. Now, since July the 25th, there's been 64,317 plus new cases, 100 cases on a 7-day case rate per 100,000 people, and then you got 283 plus new deaths from the COVID-19 virus. This is pretty much the Delta and the Lambda variants having its effect. And this is also by the CDC breaking all these numbers down. Now, 56.8% of people in the U.S. have got at least one COVID-19 shot. 49.1% are fully vaccinated. It's great, but we still got a long way to go considering the fact that Joe Biden, our wonderful president, and his administration set a goal to have 70% of people in this country vaccinated, and we still got another 20% just to get to that goal, which, by the way, we missed it miserably, but there's still room to improve, and there's still a lot of progress that needs to be made. I want you to take on the challenge to encourage someone who hasn't gotten vaccinated to go get vaccinated. And for those who feel like they've contracted the virus, go get tested. And if you turn out positive and all that, go through the whole process of quarantining and social distancing yourself. Wear your mask, wash your hands, hand sanitize. Keep yourself safe and keep everybody else safe from being near you if you have the virus to begin with. Because at the end of the day, you got to increase your muscle in order to build your hustle, right? And the only way you can do that is to get vaccinated to where you can continue to live your life and to where you can continue to make some money, to where you could eventually save that money and invest it and build it into something that you can call yours, and you can get yourself back on track. Now, hence how you like how I made that transition from health to wealth, because at the end of the day, health is wealth. And we all need that exercise, we all need that great fitness, we all need to do some sort of like mental gymnastics within ourselves to where we can overcome all this, right? I want to get into a little bit of investment talk on this HFWB podcast episode. I want to talk a little bit about stocks versus bonds as far as the value, the growth effect, and all that good stuff, right? You got your average investors versus the market. I'm going to break down some numbers here. This is from like January 1st, 1990 to about December 31st, 2009, to where the average stock fund investor has a 3.17% return rate. The Barclays US Aggregate Bond Index has a 7.01 index return rate. The average bond fund investor has 1.02% rate. And then you got inflation, which is deadly within itself. It's at 2.80%. Now, this is from like January 1st, 1990 to December 31st, 2009. Moral of the story is the average person who's investing in the stock market is you're barely beating inflation alone. And the average bond investor, you barely grow any money at all, depending if you find the right bond and the right interest rate that could generate some cash flow for you in the long run. You know, people tend to buy stocks and bonds whenever the prices are up, which boosts their confidence and makes them feel comfortable versus having the fear and everything set in and making them sell quick whenever markets experience a downturn. I want to give y'all a little bit of advice here. Y'all need to buy stocks, y'all need to buy bonds, y'all need to buy cryptocurrency when the market is down, not when the market is up. Because you can make a whole lot more money when the market is down than when the market is up. Because when the market goes up, you can potentially generate more revenue and your value can increase tremendously, and you can have more opportunities for cash flow because it's going all the way up, instead of buying it when it's all the way up and then you miss those potential benefits and then it comes crashing down and you eventually lose everything that you invest in to begin with. That would be my best advice I can give you as far as on stocks versus bonds, as far as the overall value and growth and everything, because we can invest our money wisely if we choose the right investments, have the right information, the right financial education to where you can make that wise investment in, say, for instance, the stocks and the bonds and all that good stuff to begin with. Now, I want to break down a little bit of something that I was looking into in regards to someone who I've been talking to, who I mentioned in the last podcast, as far as their return factor and everything. Now, it's kind of like she kind of has it down packed as far as what it is about investing to begin with. Now, this is important. She, of course, talks to me about her losses and everything. She was mentioning to me about how she invested $45 with a $6.47 profit. It was some sort of like EV stock that she invested in, but she's losing a little bit of money at the moment because of the bad weather crisis that China has going on and everything. But it goes to show you that at least she's done her homework enough to where she will take the chance to weigh out the options of the market and have the market eventually work in her favor. Now, there's a bunch of other things I want to get into as far as the stock market and all that returns. Excuse me if you don't mind. I'm going to pull up some numbers here real quick. Now, this is what's going on currently in the stock market at this moment. Now, the market is kind of like, it's kind of starting off a little bit flat because, you know, you got the Fed making their little decision, and you got the Dow's currently down. It's like 35,024. SP 500's up 4,405. Then you got the NASDAQ that is up 14,759 at this current moment. As in other words, the Dow is in the red and the SP 500 and the NASDAQ's in the green. Now, that's bound to change and that's bound to fluctuate and that's bound to, of course, go up, go down, however you want to look at it. And there's a lot of things that feed into that, like the Fed, the economy, how inflation it pays its factor into it and all that good stuff, right? There's a lot that factors into, of course, how the market fluctuates the way that it is. And a lot of people don't even realize this. The stock market is basically getting manipulated every single day by the Feds, by the way they basically print money in order to fund the stock market and fund the economy. And you want to know how that's done? It's basically done through a process which is, of course, way back in like 1971, A lot of people don't understand this. 1971 is when the US dollar became a currency, which basically took us off of the gold standard. Now, you don't know what the gold standard is. It's basically a monetary system where a country's currency or paper has a value directly linked to gold. A lot of people don't know this, but back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, you remember how they told you in school about the whole gold rush and everything? The gold rush was a real thing, and we basically determined the value of things and the cost of things based off of gold alone. The gold standard allowed us to convert paper money into a fixed amount of gold to where a fixed price for gold is set, sold, and bought for that price. That's basically how everything worked as far as the gold standard back in the time. Now, the government eventually got tired of that and they got greedy, and it got to the point to where they decided, you know what, since we can't tax gold like we want to, we're going to take this off of the gold standard and we're going to create ourselves a new currency that which we have full control over, and nobody can do anything about it because we're just going to print as much as we possibly can. And I'm going to break all this stuff down as far as like the gold standard, the Fed, the economy, inflation. I'm going to break all this down in future episodes, so I'm just getting started on that. But I do want to let you know this. Like I said, in 1971, Richard Nixon, the president at the time, he basically made the US dollar a currency, which took us off of the gold standard, and basically the US dollar became fiat money, which is basically currency used because of government's order or fiat that the currency must be accepted as a means of payment. Basically what that means is the government got tired of using gold as a form of payment, and they decided to create something that they can have full control over, that they can tax heavily on, and they can basically print enough of it, which is trillions and trillions of dollars that they're currently doing at this very moment. And then you wonder why our country is experiencing the highest amount of debt that they've ever seen in the world at this moment. And they better hope that it doesn't blow up all in our faces, because we're going to have ourselves a Great Depression 2.0 if that does happen. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But overall, that just goes to show you how much the US dollar is being devalued. That just goes to show you how cash is being manipulated on a regular basis. So what I say to that, you better save up enough money, and you better invest enough money, and you better build something strong enough with your money to where you can at least beat inflation, for instance. That's going to be the number one goal I would challenge y'all to do as far as getting your money right. And I would challenge y'all to pay a little bit more attention to what's going on in the financial world, because things are getting more and more crazier every single day. And I wish I could speak on this more, but I'm going to break this down in another podcast. But I just want y'all to remember that stocks and bonds, they are good investments if you choose the right stock and if you choose the right one, the bonds with the right interest rate that can give you enough cash flow. And for those who are looking into stocks, find yourself some stocks that have some nice dividends to where it'll pay you a nice dividends in due time. I'll just throw out a couple of stocks out there just for example that paid myself personally some good dividends, and I'll do the same for you. Look into like Apple, look into Amazon, look into Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Netflix, the FANG stocks as they call it. Look into Nike, look into Tesla, Starbucks. I can go on and on about good potential stocks that pay good dividends and create cash flow if you, of course, let the market fluctuate in your favor. And then, of course, them bonds. Look into some good bonds that have a nice little interest rate, maybe 5 to 10%, just as a friendly reminder that can help generate some cash flow off of that. Now, all of that is very beneficial, even though it's manipulated as the stock market and the bond market can be at times, thanks to the government and the feds instituting their policies to make it that way. You could also benefit by doing the right amount of research, having the right information and the right resources to where you can be financially educated enough to where you can make the right investment decision that will benefit not only yourself but those around you, like your family, your children, and your loved ones. I want to give y'all that friendly reminder as far as the spreading a little bit of knowledge and wealth, as far as, hey, it's very, very corrupt. I mean, obviously, that's not a surprise anymore. And it is to some people who are listening. Wake up and smell the coffee, and welcome to the real world, where our US dollar is currently being devalued every single day. And I'm going to just leave this on a good example here. You remember how your mom and your dad, including my own parents themselves, you remember how they told you how they remember that things were a lot cheaper back in the day, and now things are a lot more expensive, like, I don't know, bread, water, gas, just to throw out a few examples. That's basically what I mean by the dollar being devalued. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to break that down on my next couple of episodes of podcasts, as far as the Fed, the economy, and of course how inflation ties into all this, and even how taxes are of course eating people alive. Because a lot of people don't notice, taxes are basically a series of incentives that the government provide, and if you do certain things that the government wants you to do, you can basically save money on taxes. I'll get into that on probably the next couple of episodes as well. For now, I just want to wrap things up as far as thanking y'all once again for listening to the HFWB podcast series. I want to thank y'all for listening currently on YouTube, or watching, I should say, on YouTube. And for those who are currently listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts, thank y'all once again for taking time out of your day to provide HFWB the opportunity to reintroduce health, bring in new life with great fitness, spread knowledge and wealth, and teaching y'all how to mind your own business. Because at the end of the day, the game is mental. And you got to take care of your mental health before anything, because if your mental health ain't in order, what makes you think your body is going to follow when it comes to performing physical routines and all that good stuff, right? So that's the most important thing that I want to spread to y'all at this exact time. And I want to give a special shout out to people like Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, Kevin Love, and people like that, DeMar DeRozan, who are taking the time to speak about mental health and the importance of it and spreading awareness of it, because you gotta have your mind right in order to get your grind right. Of course, that's the best way I could look at that. Now, I want to take the time to continue to let y'all know to follow at HealthFWealthB, the official TikTok page for Health, Fitness, Wealth Business. I want to take the time to let y'all know to subscribe to the YouTube channel of Health, Fitness, Wealth Business. Leave a comment, provide feedback, provide reviews. HFWB newsletters on the way in August. I got merchandise coming my way on behalf of Health, Fitness, Wealth Business, t-shirts, shorts, face masks, posters, you name it. That's all going to be coming out very soon here in the next couple of weeks, as I'm working with a special designer who's going to get all that started for me once the funds are right, of course, and they are getting close to that. So look out for HFWB merchandise coming at some point in August. Look out for the official newsletter, that will come out as well in August. The HFWB quadrant is currently being written as we speak. We're just brainstorming more and getting more inspired to write on that every single day. The HFWB quadrant, Forgotten or Misunderstood, the first ebook of the HFWB series, that'll probably be out sometime in early September is what I'm targeting, barring any setbacks, of course. And don't forget to visit my website, healthfitnesswealthbusiness.com/CP, to where you can get all the latest updates in regards to health, fitness, wealth, business. And make sure to spread that website. Tell someone you know. That way they can tell someone that you know, and tell someone that you don't know. That way you can tell that they can tell someone that they do know in regards to spreading this HFWB movement, because we are a community. We are just simply getting started, and we're going to continue to grow every single day. Also want to give my special shout outs to, of course, Down Home Nutrition Fitness, Culture Complex, By the Bay Sports. I want to give a shout out to Finders Keepers, as far as them pushing their little entrepreneurial cookout, as far as bringing entrepreneurs together. That's something that HFWB might potentially be a part of if the opportunity presents itself, right? I want to shout out to everyone in my city who is doing great things for the community. Let's continue to build off of that and continue to get better and find ways to improve on that, most importantly. And once again, I want to thank y'all for listening to another episode of the HFWB podcast. Sorry about the rant that I went on about the COVID-19 vaccine and everything, but I feel like that needed to be said, and I hope y'all heed the message to that. And most importantly, continue to increase your muscle and build your hustle. Continue to save your money right once you, of course, take care of your living expenses, your bills, your taxes, and all that. Save your money right and use that money and save it into an investment, whether it's stocks, bonds, cryptocurrency, startup businesses, real estate, you name it. Flip that into an investment and build yourself a nice little portfolio that's diverse enough to where you can say you have a little bit of stocks, a little bit of bonds, a little cryptocurrency, throw in a little bit of real estate, invest in some business to where you can have a nice diverse portfolio to where, hey, it can be a nice potential cash flow all the way around, regardless of whatever source of income you are creating. Because at the end of the day, as long as the outcome is income, you're never going to lose on that regardless. I want to leave y'all with that. Don't forget to once again follow at HealthFWB, the official TikTok page for Health, Fitness, Wealth, Business. Subscribe to the HFWB YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow the website, healthfitnesswealthbusiness.com/CP. Don't forget to accept the invite to the Facebook page for HFWB for my Facebook friends who haven't done so yet. I'm waiting for y'all to join the community and be part of this movement while the opportunity is there. The HFWB Quadrant, Forgotten or Misunderstood, my first ebook, will be out and on its way sometime in early to mid-September. The HFWB newsletter is on its way in August, as well as HFWB official merchandise will be available in the month of August as well. I'm signing out for today. Stay healthy, stay wealthy, stay blessed, and have a wonderful day, everybody.